because Ali, we put on the slide mode, it
Yeah,
is
this
a
is
little
better.
problem. It goes over.
Yeah, this is good.
It is good, so but he has to change from here, I guess.
I'll be glad to do if I can.
Huh?
No favors.
Can you-
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Because it's a friendly group anyway.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Murthy, about 45 minutes or so.
No
including
problem.
Question and
I'll
answer.
manage
Yeah, okay.
whenever you give me signal in case I need.
All right.
Okay, I know most of you, there are few educators here, I personally know, and want to make sure I didn't miss the others of how much they are familiar with the big data. I'm not going to give definition of big data today. I'm not going to say what big data is and so on, except that I'm going to give you why big data education is going to be important only by some example numbers. So I'm not even going to go into market and so on. And I can talk to you offline if you need, and I have separate presentations on big data. I've done about 40 presentations and about 10 keynotes in the last 2 to 3 years, just on this topic of various aspects of it. And here what I'm going to talk about, what are the educational opportunities in big data, both for people who are academicians and academicians like me as well as you guys, if that's a good thing to do for an institution or a university as a professor yourselves. Or those who are not in the education, it may be a good idea to get in if they already are familiar with the aspects of big data. It doesn't have to be all of big data. And for those who want to learn about big data, it's enormous, more than what you think. I'm going to give you some idea of how enormous the subject is, even though it is only, 3-4 year old in a way, a lot of people know, but really it started in 2005, 2006. So that's also I'm going to cover. So you get the scope of what it is, but being a small group, do not hesitate to interrupt, except that I'm going to, zip through if required at the end, which is not going to be that important. I can manage the time space here. And also, I am alluding to the fact that there's gaps in big data talent, and which means good for educators, good for those who want to get into big data, because you can get jobs, you can do things. There's lots of demand in USA and all parts of the world in this. So you are welcome to contact me. I can give you my business card, anything you want to discuss in detail. And this one is just meant to give you, see, typically these days, there's a heat map that people use, just to give you an idea of what's all the things. By looking at what glares at you, big one, you know where the applications are, where the market is. That's what I'm trying to do here. And some of them I borrowed material. I didn't have to create all this every time. It's not required. You get the idea that it's in business, it's analytics, right? It's intelligence, it's technology. What is the technology, fundamentals in that. And it is also used for planning and strategy part of it. So you get the idea of where the applications are. Now, I want to give you, in terms of gaps in big data. The McKinsey report, a lot of people are familiar with, have heard about it in terms of big data itself. And there's a serious shortage. And this only mentions United States. And keep in mind, United States population is, a very small part of the total population at all. So now you have to realize that the total world market is much bigger in terms of shortage itself. Okay, and even if you take Europe, USA, Asia, which is growing, like China and Japan and Korea, even in India is growing very well. Some of the countries like Malaysia and Indonesia are growing very well, and some parts of South America like Brazil are growing very well. Even though Australia population, Canada population is small, but their progress enough so that there's going to be demand. Keep that, it's not just America, but it's totally many. Here, what They are talking about in 190,000 that they have mentioned. There are different numbers going from that to 200,000, 400,000, depending on which one you read. This is only to give you an idea of the size of the market rather than exact number. Don't belabor that, it doesn't mean anything in life. There they meant only data scientists. It does not cover all of them. When you see, you will know that the demand is lot more in all aspects of it, not the data scientists who do analytics only. Those are statisticians, number people, some visualization included, some algorithm included, data scientists. So the market is much bigger. Okay, here is another one, worldwide big gap in big data talent. I'm going to start with the number that was given by for the USA, different numbers, 150 to 190,000 you see at different places, and that's an analytical expertise. That's what I meant to say by saying big data does not include all the platforms in processing. And then just the managers, 1.5 million managers, analysts with skills to understand and make decisions. They may not be doing programming, they may not be doing any of that. So you need a lot of talent there because of the awareness, understanding, other than having heard the word big data, it has not gone to people's head yet. So that's what a lot of marketing people and sales people do not know at all. That's another one. And for educators, I already mentioned there's lots of gap, and when I start unfolding the numbers and so on and opportunities, you start seeing why, how can I clone myself into so many, right? That's how much you will see over time. And there is a serious big gap in big data strategies. Big data strategy is not even understood. That's what I do compared to coding and hiring people and offshoring and all. And I'll get into it, at the right time. And here, companies, large companies as well, federal and state governments need it. It's not just in USA, Canada, Europe, Asia, South America, even Africa, etc. Worldwide, there's a lot of demand. And globally, it's at least 5 to 10 times. I'm just multiplying because of the population, but discounting because all countries are not progress. And 7.5 to 10 million to 15 million people with different levels, different aspects of big data into application, decision making, strategy are required. So, and don't underestimate it. Now I'm giving you an idea of the big ones, big universities who have already gotten into it, right? And I will tell you what they have gotten into it, what they could have gotten into it also when I show you. And these are names that you are very familiar with, the big universities like Stanford, you see, Cal, you see, right? Even Ottawa in Canada, you see, MIT, you see, Columbia, Drexel, all the big names are there who are there. There's totally, the top universities, at least about 20 to 50 are there at different stages of big data. The reason I say different aspects of big data and so on, some of them are not really doing big data, but they are doing something else, aspects of it. And that's also important for you to see. And now, other countries are not far behind. I just wanted to check because I just recently had gone, and then I said, hey, how much, India may be doing, because India is normally the IT country, if you want to call it. So, IIM is Indian Institute of Management. In the IIT, you're already familiar with Institute of Technology. National Institute of Technology, which is also, in similar ones. NIIT is heavily into IT only, and there are many locations, and they offer big data programs. Okay? And here, see the word big data programs, right? It's all kinds. And NASSCOM is the organization of all the IT companies put together. This is a big, lots of companies obviously, and they, they are taken about 18 to 19 companies approximately to help define where the competencies are. What kind of training would be required. So people are getting into, but they're at least 3 to 5 years late, according to me. Because I've been talking about this gap, not only in this, I give a series on big data gaps in memory technology, in server technology, in networking technology, hardware side of it, every aspect of it. There's a series I'm giving. This happens to be in education, one of them. And then you also, they are basically making statements, they are creating programs and so on. And there are other, I'm just giving examples of only few cities. Bangalore and Hyderabad are normally people will have heard. A lot of people are trying to create curriculum and so on. According to me, at least 18 to 24 months late. According to me, they are very slow. They need that much time, according to them, NASCOM, for them to get to something. They are going to be quite late. And now I took one just random university in called Shivanada University, and this is what they show you, what they are trying to teach. And they claim that they have some industrial labs. We don't know what it is. And a lot of times you cannot do serious big data in any classroom, because unless you are in a real world environment planning, you only get semblance, right? It's almost like you are learning the circuit theory or anything. You get some idea rather than real design. So expect a similar thing for those who are more hardware, circuits, VLSI type as well. So that's another one.
You get little data to play with.
Yeah, that's the idea. And make sure I go down here.
If you want, I can click those for you.
No.
You can just
Not a big deal. No, appreciate it. But I want you to enjoy what it is and think. Okay, now China, you can't leave China, right? China is growing faster than anything you can think of. Just for you guys to know, I watch Chinese television every day. And I watched their CPC, which is a Congress kind of a thing, 5,000 people, all 9 presentations. And before coming, I was watching China, because I'm very much intrigued about how China is doing, how they're growing, how they manage, how they make decisions, and how their president behaves like a foreign minister. He travels all the time. And Obama doesn't do, any other country doesn't do, so the styles are so different for you. Again, now going back to it, I'm just giving one example. Renmin University is a university that you may not have heard, but it's a common known university. And May they announced a program, and they are doing master degrees in data analytics. Again, come back to that. They're doing more analytics than teaching all the platforms. But when I go and show you, you will see it's a lot more than what you hear. And I'm just giving 5 colleges, like Renmin University, University of China, Peking University, University of Chinese Academies, etc., etc., etc. And I have not even shown Tsinghua. I have not shown Nankai. Those are the bigger. Tsinghua is like equivalent to our MIT, as everyone wants to compare to MIT. So, I'm not even showing that. Just random samples, just to show you what it is. And so lots of programs happening there. And United Kingdom. I just wanted to give you an idea wherever it is. University of Essex. They have a MSc. They what we call a Masters of Science here. They put a C at the end. MSc in Big Data program. But otherwise, even though they say Big Data program, it doesn't cover all aspects of it. It cannot cover unless you do from the day one all the 4 years of bachelor's degree. Then only you can cover reasonably well. And then Glasgow, Brunel University, Sheffield, Stirling, and Scotland. That's what I'm just giving. Again, only random samples of what they are for you to get an idea. Yeah. And what are the types of expertise needed? To be in the real world. Technical expertise that is needed. It would be I'm giving example, NoSQL. There's SQL, NoSQL. NoSQL has multiple interpretations. It is NoSQL, but not only SQL. So it depends on how you look at it. Different companies play on that and say, we are something different. But everyone's, oh, we also have NoSQL. So you'll start seeing that happening everywhere. and data expertise is needed first. Right? Without that, you can't get into that. You have to understand. So there are some fundamental courses that may be required for those who are not in the computer science data at all, database management, database programming, analytics, some statistics, if you want to be in the data science part of it. So all of that fundamental course you probably want to do for at least a year, even if you do a bachelor's program. So if you simply teach, people will not get it right away, what it is. And strategic expertise, again, I want to make sure I mention data mining, text mining, forecasting, machine learning. Those are the kind of topics that has various aspects of it. So it's as big as it could be, when we studied, bachelor's in electrical engineering, all aspects of it, or computer science, or material science, this deserves to be at least a bachelor's degree program for someone to be clearly knowing it. And your professors have to know. Yeah, please.
So is anybody offering bachelor's degrees in data science?
Yeah. I'll give you an example locally also. When I just didn't want to talk about all universities I want to give.
Sure.
Just to give you San Francisco, the UCSF, they are teaching some data analytics. Again, everyone goes back because professors are not there who have been in the industry and done the work. What does it mean? People who are in the industry can now go and potentially can do it. But they have to practice, they have to have done it. Otherwise, that will become again a theoretical, right? And keep in mind, and I was myself an academician. 5 departments, at one time I was a professor of 5 departments, but still, I had industry experience, aerospace experience, military experience that helped me, like what you are all benefiting from. And strategic expertise is required. So I'm just giving you different categories. Data expertise is required for those things, right? And the Hadoop, etc., and similar, there's lots of platforms. I'm going to give you a big list of platforms in the platforms that are required to do different kinds of processing. And there you have to understand the clusters and how to do production, in the clusters and so on. And next, strategic experience is required for corporate executives. Industry vertical experience is required, state and national level strategy at the government level. For all this, there's a lot of strategic understanding you need to have. You don't have to be programming like in any industry. You are managing. You need to understand what it is when someone says, looking at strategy. There's no one teaching strategy. No one is talking strategy, seriously. If you say, oh, we are doing strategy, all we're saying is that buy our product, buy our Hadoop portion. That they think is strategy. Right? We all know, being in the industry, strategy is a totally different game altogether. The marketing and sales perspectives are required. So I'm trying to give you different phases of big data. One has to learn, one has to use, where they use, how they use, what knowledge is required. Whether you sell, whether you buy, whether you are marketing it, product marketing, product management, look at all aspects of it in the intersection with the marketing and sales. Similarly, big data architects need technical data and system solution level expertise, which is again different from more data analytics type. So this is a big enough industry by itself, both in education and industry itself. And then project and functional management background is required when you are managing it. If you don't understand, you can say, oh, project management is just to say, okay, have you finished it? Right? Have you finished your work? How many more days you need? That's not, how it is. People think schedule management is project management. Right? And so someone has to understand what it is from that perspective, from a project, how long does a project take? And how many hours does it take for someone to finish this work? And that is, understanding is really required for you to do it. And then, at the executive level, CIOs, even though they're already chief information officers, they may not understand the big data aspect. They need to understand it, right? CTO, again, chief big data officer is a category that I have always talked about when I give presentation. Like, you are familiar with the chief security officer, right, these days, of just privacy and security aspects of it. Like, chief big data officer will be a big data officer. So it's a big opportunity. No, I really mean it. It's going to be a big opportunity because that's what's going to happen everywhere.
6'4", 200 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. CFOs have to understand, and COOs, CEOs, all of them would need to understand. So what I'm trying to drive home, the point is to say that it's not just one. It's this all aspects of it. And who are offering these courses, right? Who are providing training and courses and university programs, depending on how you look at it. I'm only showing big data vendors. There's a lot of big data vendors. Every big data vendor is doing training for their product. This is a product training, but that's okay, right? That's still okay to do, but it could come in a university or a training company umbrella that all of them come and give presentations, not just selling a product, but value added and so on. That, for example, Ollie and you guys, Chris, could get into that kind of a program as well as an opportunity. And then, and online hands-on programs could be complemented, because even when they do hands-on online, I've gone and sat there, all they say is, what is MPP, massively parallel processing, and then how do you do, they take a small sample of data and try to show and say, that is big data. See, no, it's not big data, right? So, they only are giving little fundamentals. That's not enough. And market vertical domain expertise. Because if you don't understand the domain, whether it is retail or finance or airline or infrastructure kind of companies like energy, etc., oil and natural gas, what you're processing, what data it is important for you to know. You cannot be agnostic about the domain. That's a very important point. A lot of people forget, in what they can do. And courses and degrees, right? All these big data courses, workshops, etc., certificate programs are geared towards candidates who already have undergraduate degrees. At least they will not be able to do, right? If they're not done unless they have done it for a long time hackers, they are almost equivalent to some kind of a degree, equivalency. But without that, you cannot do. The point I'm trying to make is that when you teach those from before the university, high school advanced programs, as well as college undergraduate programs, or whatever you are teaching, or even community college, you need to teach fundamentals for some time before you get there. That's what I'm trying to make, like nanotechnology, right? If you don't understand material science, you don't know anything, other than the definition of nano, you will not know what you are doing, right? So you need to have a domain expertise. And then most companies, right, even they want to hire, they favor professionals with 3 to 5 years experience already. So if you have experience in some aspect of data, processing, IT, analytics, and etc., visualization, then it's easier for you to take courses so you are mature enough to understand. You cannot start from nothing. That's the point. Again, as educators, that's probably what you want to think of. How do you give just degree programs, they don't have experience, and those who have experience for some years, how do you teach? What do you teach them? The curriculum could vary, or it's a good idea to vary. And then in many cases, part-time options are also available. Someone can take courses part-time in places and so on. like Columbia has its Institute for Data Sciences. Again, coming back to it's again more data science, data analytics, everywhere that you see. And so Harvard has its Institute for Applied Computational Science. Watch this. It's more computational science, data science, not true overall big data. I'm basically showing to you what the gap is, right, in the university program or training or anything like that. And University of California, Berkeley has what's called, AMP Lab. Basically, it's algorithms, machines, and people. So again, the algorithms are like machine learning algorithms, or algorithms like Monte Carlo, etc., that you need to do analytics of the data that you have, depending on the kind of data. Which algorithm do you use is also important. You cannot blindly use any one of them. And so machines is machines learning, right? So this kind of a program they are giving you so that you get the idea. And business schools. It's a good idea for business schools to also teach, because those who take MBA or systems management, master's program and so on, they will not, if they have to work in big data, they have to have a specialization in big data similar to MBA in marketing, right? MBA in healthcare management. That kind of a thing. Big data is a good opportunity because the business is there. I showed you the gap, right, in terms of millions. And examples are New York University and Rutgers are trying to do some of these programs. So different universities are taking different shots at the same thing. Different cross sections they are trying to do, but none of them are doing it holistically, right? Then you have to take course in each university for you to be learning something. No, it really works out that way. And then business-based analytics. It's a different aspect of kind of programs one needs to give, and that's being done in North Carolina State University, Drexel, Louisiana, and Canada's York University. So I'm giving example of what is there in the world, what's being happened. I'm again not exhaustive as I mentioned in the beginning itself. And statistics and operations research. That's also required from a different angle of how you use big data, right? And it is basically applied learning. It's business and big data oriented programs, combinations of them. And example of universities again I'm giving Cincinnati and Tennessee. And it's assumed that we create a university, we get a program, we are all academicians, we would like to do that. Then it's a good idea to get a sample from wherever it is, what's happening, who is doing what what kind of curriculum we should have, what kind of focus we need to have, what kind of faculty we need to have. Right? Industry people may not know how to teach as much as those who have been doing this for a while. So we have to think about different components. And then big data applications to marketing. Now I'm coming back to the universities which are doing it, and Bentley University, DePaul University, they are doing into marketing. And insurance and financial services. Urbana-Champaign, they have been kind of funded, if you want to call it, State Farm. I'm giving this example, especially State Farm in this Urbana-Champaign. We know Steve Kong was there once upon a time. And this also gives you a clue. Companies may like to fund or sponsor based on their vertical, so that they get people trained and they can hire them. So now think of sponsorship, company involvement, and company people can come and talk about domain background and where it's applicable, there's a job also. Now, okay. And now, here are the other ones that you can do. I'm just giving you not an exhaustive list again, and I stopped after I got to the bottom. Because the one screen worth I wanted to show, otherwise I'll be giving you too many. And we need courses and degree programs just on privacy and security in big data, because that's a specialized field. Unless you are specialized in that, you can't do big data and privacy and security. It's a specialized thing. And even computer science degree programs do not exist for just privacy and security. Think about it, right? The universities or training programs and courses are not as market oriented, business oriented, job oriented as we want it to be, or at least we think it is. When you start looking at it, then you see what are the variations, because just in privacy and security is going to be a big issue. Still not solved completely. Everyone, yeah, we have a solution. Not really. Because every time we do conferences, we have few sessions on that, and we come to know that things are not done well, because, it's all, now even so I say big data, privacy and security in the cloud, privacy and security in terms of data centers, because your big data resides there, right? What are the networking issues, right? When multiple users are using in the same cloud, I call them strange bedfellows, right? I give you a talk on a topic called strange bedfellows in big data, and the cloud and mobility and so on. So you don't want it to be the same plane, because your information is stored. Similarly, role of memory. I'm telling you, I did sessions just on this topic, and I had to kind of coach the people who are in the memory industry, because they don't understand that aspect. Before I brought them as panel members or session speakers and so on, because you need speed of access also, right? And now there's a cost, because the SSDs or the flash memories are not as cheap as we want it to be when you look at the volume of how much you are going to store, right? And you've heard about 70% compounded annual growth rate. There has nothing that in my life I've seen 70% CAGR. Big data is growing that fast. And there's even a saying that 90% of the data that's there now is created in the last year or last 2 years only. So what does it mean? You need a lot of memory. So again, how do you design? What kind of memory do you need? What is the memory architecture? Right? How do you have hybrid memories with solid state memories and disk memories, right? And then how do you have something even faster and lot more durable for over a long time? And there are a lot of new technologies that are coming up, and we know we have done a full day conference just on nano technology based memories. New things are coming up, and they are going to mature over time, right? So, and let me tell you, to the amount of data that you need to store, especially SSD, or semiconductor memory I should say, there's not enough manufacturing facility around. I got into the details and explained, I don't want to belabor on that part. The reason I'm trying to bring that point is that you need at least a course for that in the big data aspect of it, right? And then you need expertise in memory for you to teach big data and memory. If you don't know privacy and security, which very few people know, you need a specialist in that. So now I'm trying to give you a different issue about teaching big data in a university or a training program or degree programs, just a continuing education program. You need to have background in a lot of areas if you want to give a broad perspective.
So what about K through 12?
I'll get to that. I know. I'm into it. Yeah. And then role of networking, gigabit network, Ethernet, etc., etc. That